This morning, equal rights activists are sounding the alarm. They say the Trump administration is undoing certain rights for women, students, communities of color, and LGBT plus individuals. Joining me live this morning is Noreen Farrell. She's the executive director of Equal Rights Advocates. And I want to say thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about this. One of President Trump's first actions was cutting programs when he took office, and we saw that change with many companies pulling back those programs. Can you talk to me about how that has affected just the workplace for a lot of people?
We have seen major corporations following the administration's lead on this point. The issue is that DEI initiatives really play a critical role in fostering inclusive workplaces and workplace cultures in which all employees feel valued and respected. So their removal, we see environments where discrimination and bias go unaddressed. It leads to decreased employee morale and increased turnover. We see those removal of those programs as really being harmful to women's advancement of all qualified folks into higher wage jobs, which is a key piece of the pay gap that we're trying to address.
When did diversity and inclusion become such bad words?
It really defies logic. Actually, what the data shows that diversity inclusion actually helps all employees, white women, white men, by opening up opportunities in ways that used to just be sort of a tap on the shoulder kind of way of getting promoted. It really has taken hold with the Trump administration. There's political forces that are demonizing and weaponizing the very words that we use to make sure that there's compliance with federal civil rights law, compliance with the best corporate practices. So our goal and our work ahead is to really reclaim that language and show its benefits and show how it is actually consistent with the law.
I also want to talk about this week also marking the 62nd anniversary of the Equal Pay Act. I know women are now earning only 83 cents for every dollar earned by men. The gap is actually much greater when you talk about women of color here. And there's a huge movement that we saw a few years ago drawing attention to the gender pay gap. Has there been any positive change in the last few years?
There has been. I think overall, we've seen in the past 2 years, we've seen the biggest decline and widening of the pay gap, but that's because we aren't able to make the changes at the federal level. But in the states, there's been a lot of great progress, and we've seen that in more transparency laws, the ability of employees to ask what are the salary ranges, requiring employers not to rely on a prior salary to set a new salary, pay data collection. More companies are engaged in analyzing their data so they can really understand what's happening with their trends and make course corrections. And where we see states passing these kinds of laws, we are seeing progress. We're also seeing progress in states that raise the minimum wage because women make up 2/3 of the minimum wage earners, where they're eliminating a tipped minimum wage that's often less than the regular minimum wage. So these are pockets of progress that give us a lot of hope. The problem is you really can't rely only on your zip code in terms of your rights. So we will continue to push until those state laws are the law of the land.
And quickly before you go, look, we could talk about this all day, but talk to me about some of the actions that people can take and resources that are out there to help.
First of all, if you're living in the Bay Area in a place like California, please know that you're allowed to ask what your salary ranges are for your job and what are the factors that get you up on that range. It's important also that you know your rights. You can go to an organization like Equal Rights Advocates where we describe what your rights are. Make sure that you're getting engaged in your community and help support policy change both in this state and beyond to make sure that those great common sense policies that I talked about really happen in more places and in your workplace.
All right, Noreen Farrell, thank you so much for joining us this morning and the conversation.
Thank you so much.